Hi, welcome to Medical Mondays. I am Tisha Rowe, a family medicine physician in Houston, Texas, and the founder of Rowe Docs. And I am so excited to have with me today Tatiana, the founder and creator of FItWithCurves, also a health professional. She's a trainer here in Houston, and I'm just really excited to talk to her. We want to talk about today what is important for someone who is healthy, fit, and working out to think about when they're going to the doctor, as well as how can physicians and personal trainers or nutritionists work together to help our communities become healthier. Okay. So I'll kick us off. Tatiana, please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about why you went into training and what is your philosophy on training.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Tisha. I appreciate it. So like Tisha said, I'm a certified personal trainer. I actually have a kinesiology degree. I'm also a certified fitness nutrition specialist and a certified group aerobic instructor. I've been working for myself now for 8 years. I own a company by the name of FItWithCurves. I train majority women. I train women with all types of goals. I originally got into fitness at a little bit after high school is when I started gaining weight like most people, right? You're not walking around campus like you normally do. And what happened was I realized that at a young age that if I wanted to be healthy, if I wanted to be fit, if I wanted to feel good about myself, that I was going to have to start incorporating health and fitness into my daily life. And I started working out and fell in love with it. Like most minorities, diabetes runs in my family, high blood pressure. And so I knew that if I never wanted to have to deal with those types of diseases, that I was going to have to be very mindful of what I'm putting in my body and making physical activity a primary part of what I do on a weekly basis. My mom actually got her toes amputated in 2011. And so since then she's had 3 toes amputated. And so for me, health and fitness is more than, it's bigger than the way you look. Of course, we all want to look good, but it's also about quality of life. And I don't think people realize, like, my mom is only 60 years old, and that's really young. Yeah. And, I was home for Christmas, and she can barely walk. She can barely walk around. We went to the outlets, and she could barely walk around the outlets. Yeah. And so for me, it's bigger than, looks. It's about quality of life.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Sorry to hear about your mom. So I have been a physician for 8 years. So our journeys have mirrored somewhat. I've seen a huge shift, and I think in a positive way, in body positivity. And I feel like you've been doing this before that shift occurred. So what have you seen as far as changes in terms of what was considered fit in 2012 versus today in 2020?
Right. I think it's very different. Fitness looks different now than what it did, like you said, and maybe like 7 years ago when I first started. I think that, around that time, that fitness was more like size 4 or size 6, that you weren't considered fit unless you were tiny, unless you wore size 4 or size 6, that you couldn't have thick thighs and be fit. Right. And that you had to have these little legs and, they considered you to be fit if you didn't have a butt. Right. So, back in the day, if you had any type of butt, you were considered fat, Yeah. And so I think that,
right.
Exactly. Right.
It's positive. But when people said I was thick, I heard fat, and
right.
That was like, okay, I need to go run 6 miles because I'm thick,
You're right. And now I think, especially with social media, people are beginning to realize that you can be a size 9, 10 and be extremely fit. They see people on social media doing all types of crazy workouts, and their size, 10, 12, and they can see that you can do more stuff than some of these girls that are size 6 or, size 4. Yeah. And so fitness has definitely changed. And I think social media has played a major role in that as well.
Okay, so with that being said, when people come to you for training, what do you have any conversations with them, like asking the questions, what medical problems they have, and if so, what do you see most commonly amongst your clients?
Right. So during the first session, I sit down and I have a fitness assessment with my clients. And I will talk to them about their medical history. I will ask them, or, I'll ask them, is there something that your doctor told you? Is there anything that your doctor told you that you should not be doing in the gym? Do you have heart palpitations when you work out? Do you ever feel dizzy? Do you ever feel faint? And those are the conversations that we go through. And I will say that that probably a majority of my clients that I've trained that have had some type of health related disease, it has been diabetes or high blood pressure is what I see most of the time, is high blood pressure and diabetes.
So within those individuals that you see with high blood pressure and diabetes, this is something
Right.
I see very commonly in the office, but I only see people once a year sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
optimistically 2 to 4 times a year. And I see a lot of resistance to accepting the diagnosis. Do you see that where people are saying, the doctor said I have it, but kind of like, I'm not claiming it. I don't have it. Do you see that?
Unfortunately, I do, Tisha. I do. I see it all the time. Actually, a lot of times when people come to me as a personal trainer to help them, they have received the diagnosis, but they don't want to believe it, or they received the diagnosis and now they're scared, and now they want to start incorporating health and fitness into their daily life. But a lot of times, people won't even say I have it. They'll just say, "Oh, I'm pre-diabetic," or "My doctor told me I'm super close to becoming diabetic," and then that's when they'll call me to try to help them to prevent from getting the full-blown diabetes.
So, again, from my side,
Right.
what I find often is I diagnose someone with something, they're afraid, they probably come to you,
Mm-hmm.
start working out, they do it for like a few months, they come back and see me in a year, they're worse, and they had stopped working out for 6 months. And they're like, well, you told me I had high blood pressure, but I worked out, it went down. So in their mind, they don't have it anymore. They stop coming to you, and they also aren't coming to me. How do you address the issue of inconsistency? People who start and then fall off with their workouts.
So with my clients, I will actually call them. So with a lot of my clients that have stopped coming, or they, for whatever reason, I will actually call them or I'll text them and say, you have to be consistent if you want to reach your goals. During that initial fitness assessment, I ask them what keeps them motivated and what their goals are. And so I will remind them what their goals are. A lot of times once people reach those goals, or once they start feeling better, they think they don't have to work out anymore. They think they don't have to eat, right anymore. And then they end up, like you said, becoming worse. And so I think it's important for you to be consistent and for you to realize, and I think that's why, that's why people need to understand that it's much bigger than the way that they look. Because I think what happens with a lot of people is that, you start looking good and you're like, I don't have to work out anymore. I don't have to eat right anymore. And of course, that's the farthest from the truth. You have to be consistent. And that's why you have to get it through your head that it's much bigger than the way you look on the outside. It needs to be about health.
Absolutely. And so one of the reasons we bumped into each other in
Right.
Starbucks, which I think is a blessing.
Yes.
But one of the things why I've been hoping to connect with more trainers in the fitness community is I actually see a lot of people speaking to exactly what you just said, that they look great on the outside. Many of the time, most of the time, it's men over women who are like muscular, fit, in shape. And then two things I see a lot: their blood pressure is through the roof, or their kidney function is messed up. And a lot of times I educate them on the fact that those supplements you're taking can be impacting your kidneys, and you taking a Monster or energy drink 3 times a day actually has some consequences. So do you see a lot of your patients, or not patients, clients, who are using a lot of supplements and not just sticking to just the diet and exercise, or medications too?
Yeah, I'm so glad that you said that, Tisha, and that we're having this conversation, because I don't think people realize how horrible supplements can be in access, and like all the junk that's in there. And so with what I do with my clients is I try to focus on natural stuff. And so with my clients, I never recommend pre-workouts. I never recommend certain supplements unless they're all natural. And so if that's something that you choose to take as my client, I'm going to tell you that these ingredients are not good for you. However, if you choose to take it, you know, when you're not with me or before you come to the session, then sometimes I don't know. But I never recommend certain supplements. The most that I would recommend is like something that your body already produces and that you're just adding more to help you, like the L-carnitine or branched chain amino acids, things like that. But yeah, people are taking tons of things that they should not be putting into their body.
And I'm with you. I actually have the Beachbody, but I use it for the workout plans. And then I use the smoothies. I don't use any energy like based supplements, because helping people to understand that if you're eating a balanced diet and getting your vitamins checked and it's normal, it is not normal to just be tired when you wake up. Like you do not need a pre-workout in the morning, you know? So things that I think is often underdiagnosed is like chronic fatigue syndrome, which can often come from sleep apnea, right? So there are people who think they're sleeping, they're not breathing while they're sleeping, they wake up tired and they take a pre-workout. And it's like your body is telling you something if you wake up tired and you think you slept the whole night, you know? So it's good to hear that you have a very similar philosophy. So a common question I get in the office is, what vitamins do I need? And I have a lot of people coming to me requesting certain injections and things like that outside of supplements, like, oh, I need this energy shot. Do you find that a lot in your clients as well? And what recommendations do you give when people come to you like, oh, I need to get these shots to be able to lose weight and have energy?
Right. So I do get that. So I have a lot of clients, or I have a lot of people that will contact me because, you know, we're in this age where everybody wants this get quick fast, right? Or lose weight fast or anything quick, right? And so they're quick to take B12, you know, all these little clinics around are, you know, doing B12 shots and things like that, not realizing that, of course, their body might not even be deficient in B12. And so what I do for a lot of my clients is I will recommend them to go to a doctor and get blood work done so that you know what your vitamin levels are and you know what vitamins that you even should be taking. Is it even necessary for you to take those? A lot of times I think it comes from your diet. You know, you're not eating the right types of foods, and so that's why you're deficient in all these things. But your doctor, right, is the one that can tell you that through blood work. And so I will recommend my clients to go get blood work done.
And for me, when they come to me, I don't even bother like arguing. I say, just let me check your vitamin B levels, because unless you have had gastric bypass surgery or you are a strict vegetarian, then you more than likely are not deficient in B12. But I find, like you said, people have a hard time believing that there are people out there that will just take your money without any benefit, right? So you go to a weight loss clinic, they give you a diuretic, stimulant, and some B12. But if you aren't eating right and working out, like none of that makes any difference, right? It won't last. The most common deficiency I see in my patients is vitamin D. And so I find that that's often not checked. And I've had people, your normal vitamin D is about 40 and above. And I have people with vitamin D levels of 2. And I'm vitamin D deficient. Most African American or any person of color will be vitamin D deficient. And if you take that every week, that is more effective than a B12 shot that you never needed in the first place.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So one of the things I've worked on in my practice is communicating with my patients outside of office visits. So I have like accountability chats. I have different Facebook groups, different things like that to keep the line of communication open between me and my patients between visits. Privacy laws, there's certain things you have to do, but how do you think, and I know this is a very broad question, so don't feel pressured. How do you think we can do better at creating wellness communities with doctors, trainers, nutritionists, and patients. Because I feel like there's a lot of disconnect in between my doctor said this, my trainer said this, my nutritionist said this. Who do I believe? Do you think that there's an opportunity there?
No, for sure, there's definitely an opportunity there. I think conversations like this right now that we're having, you know, getting together with other communities of doctors or nutritionists or personal trainers in the area. And you can do that by, again, the Facebook groups. There's a lot of meetups on meetup.com where we could get together and establish something, more events where we maybe have like a panel discussion and, you know, have a panel with doctors, with personal trainers, with nutritionists on there where we can sit down and talk about some of the things that maybe that there's a disconnect between, you know, all of us so we can get on the same page. Those are some of the things that we can definitely do.
I love your idea for events because I do think
Right.
that there's more opportunity there. One thing that I would love, and I haven't even tried to do it myself, is to see an exchange of information. It has to be in a way that protects privacy, but I would love for my patients to bring their labs to their trainer, right? To say, you started working out with me on January 1st. Here's my cholesterol on April 1st. My cholesterol has now gone down. Likewise, I would love to see from my patients to me, their trainer saying, you know, I was deadlifting 90 pounds when I first started, and now I'm deadlifting 200 pounds, right? Versus me just telling someone, hey, lose 10 pounds, but maybe you're not even as stronger 20 pounds less than you were at the weight you started. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does. And that makes sense. No, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah. I think so. For one of the things that I talk about, and one of the things that I started this year was talking about non-scale victories. I think that we're so focused on the scale, right? On the scale or what you weigh. And of course I know that there is a benefit to that, but a lot of times we're so focused on the scale that we don't focus on what's going on inside our body. And so one of the things that I told some of my social media followers this year is that they need to get blood work done so they know what their bad cholesterol levels are, so they know what their good cholesterol levels are, and that so that we can have something to track that with, so that in 30 days or 60 days or, you know, mid a year, we can come back and check that again and see, you know, how those levels have changed. And so I think that's a great idea. And it would give us a different type of transformation. I think we're so focused on, again, those external transformations, but what about the internal transformations? And so that would be great.
Yes. The other thing I think about when it comes to like fitness communities, City of Houston hosted an event probably a couple weeks ago. I think they called it FitFest 2020, where different trainers came out to the park and taught different classes. And I thought it was amazing. So I immediately like emailed them, hey, when is this happening again? And they're like, we will see. Do you think that there's an opportunity for us to do more outside of gyms, outside of clinics, in terms of park, recreation? If you could sit down with Mayor Turner tomorrow, what do you think is something the city could do to make Houston a healthier place?
Sure. No, I think that we should have more events, for sure, more events, that it's going to get, you know, kids involved and parents involved, so that, you know, because of course it comes from the parents, but it needs to also, they need to teach their kids as well, the importance of health and fitness. And so if we had more events where we got all together and we were able to show them and tell them what works and what's going to keep them, you know, healthy and have a better quality of life. Yes, for sure. So parks, like you said, are always great, especially like, you know, as it gets a little bit warmer, maybe like, you know, in that April, May time frame would be good. Yeah, it's great.
Well, I'm glad you brought up the weather because I swear.
We can't, yeah.
Number one excuse for my patients outside of I don't have time is the weather, right? In the summer, they say it's too hot. In the winter, it's too cold. So how do you deal with the excuses, right? There's always the excuse. What is your philosophy or mantra or something you say to that person who knows they have that family history? They know they need to do better, but they're just living through their excuses.
Right. You have to go out there and do it. I think, you have to put the excuses aside. It's about discipline. And so you have to do it. You have to start. And so you just have to push yourself. And so a lot of times it's not about, so you have to figure out what works for you. So if it's hot outside in the evening, then you need to work out in the morning time. Yep. Or if it's, too cold, you need to put a jacket on, There are certain things that you can do to combat those excuses, but you have to do it. You have to do it. Your life depends on it.
Yeah, and I think that's the part that we really have to help people understand is that your life does depend on it. Mm-hmm. And with me being a mother, earlier you said with the parks, getting the children involved, I talk to my son, we eat together. So he loves to try to give me his unhealthy food, to the point where he'll hold it to my lips. You want to, Mom, just bite it. And so I'll say to him, I'm like, but I don't want diabetes or I don't want high blood pressure. And when I check my blood pressure, I show it to him and I let him look at the numbers. And if it's high, I tell him, see, that's not good. Or if it's normal, I'm like, this is perfect. And I think that having more opportunities where we don't wait until our kids are adults to say, oh, by the way, Mom does have high blood pressure or diabetes. Let them see it now and see those consequences so that they can understand the ramifications.
Really good. I agree.
Because so much of it is diet. So we hear all these things. Abs are made in the kitchen, 80% of it is diet. One of the challenges I find with my patients is, I think I read something where we only have a set amount of willpower, right? So they say work out in the morning because if you've had a hard day, you really won't have any willpower left in the evening. So when I start with my patients who are trying to lose weight, one of the things I say is let's decide which we're going to tackle first, diet or exercise, right? If they're not doing either one, and I'll say, let's focus on fixing this one, and then we're going to tackle the next one next. In your experience as a very experienced trainer, do you find it's easier for people to tackle their diet first or exercise if they're not ready to go all in at once? How do you recommend that person that's like, I want to make a change, but I can't go all out. I can't go to the gym 5 days a week. I can't cut out all carbs and eat just plant-based. Where do you recommend someone starts that is just like, I want to do better, but I'm not ready to go all in?
Right. So what I find is most effective for most people is to start working out first. It's so easy to start, to get out your house, open up the door and walk outside, right? Or go get a quick gym membership or log onto a YouTube channel and do a video. It's so easy to do that. And I find with my clients that once you start working out and you realize the work that it takes to burn 300 calories or 400 calories, I find that your diet is automatically going to change. That you are going to realize the work that it takes, and you're not going to want to eat that 1,000-calorie burger that is going to take you 2 to 3 hours to burn off. So I find that as you begin to, as your heart begins to get stronger and you begin to get more conditioned and you get stronger by lifting weights, that you are automatically going to want to eventually start to change your diet. And so most people will come to me, and of course I'm going to tell them about their diet initially, but sometimes it might take them a month or two to start listening to what I'm telling them about their diet, but they will eventually get there. But if you can start working out first, that is better than nothing.
What do you think about counting calories? Good, bad, evil?
So so as an endomorph body type, and of course you probably are aware of that too, that we tend to hold fat very fast. And so for me, of course, it's not just about, counting calories or, being in a calorie deficit, but it's also about your macronutrients, right? So the type of carbs, fat, and protein in the amount that you're eating. So for me, I don't know that counting calories is as important as what type of calories those are. right? So for me, it's more, don't get me wrong, you can't just, you know, go crazy. But for you, I think that it's great to count calories at first, or to plug it in to some type of meal planner.
Mm-hmm.
Then eventually you're able to pinpoint what, you know, three to 4 ounces of lean meat looks like, or what, you know, what amount of green veggies that you're supposed to have, things like that. So I don't think that counting calories is bad, but to me, it's more about the type of calories that you're eating, you know, and so staying away from those, you know, the unhealthy fats and the sugar, dairy, things like that.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I usually recommend for my patients, I tell them to count calories for a week, because
Okay.
most of us are eating the same thing every week, right?
Right.
Hardly do you feel like, oh, I'm just going to eat something different every single week. We're creatures of habit. So I say, you know, once you know how many calories are in that Big Mac
Right.
or that breakfast sandwich, you know forever. So you can decide from that point on, is that going to be your breakfast, or is oatmeal going to be your breakfast? You know, once you know for sure that that salad that you swore was healthy, that the dressing alone was 300 calories, now you have to decide, right? Because Chick-fil-A, I love their salads, but some dressing is 70 calories and the other one's 300. So you ate a salad, but you had a whole nother meal just on top of it.
Right.
So I agree with you. I think what you eat is more important than counting your calories. I don't count calories, but I will recommend people who clearly have no idea how much they're eating, that they at least try, because I find that people think they're eating healthy and they're not. So that has been something really important to me. So we've been talking for 30 minutes now. I feel
Right.
like you have shared a wealth of information. Yes, it went by really quickly. Where can people connect with you and find you online?
Right. So I am on all social media sites at FItWithCurves. You can find me on my website at FItWithCurves.com. I also have a YouTube channel, FItWithCurves. I do everything. So I do personal training. I do boot camps. I do online training. I do workout plans. I have downloadable workout plans. So I have everything that you need in regards to health and fitness. And I know that I can help you out if you have any questions about it.
Awesome. Any final advice or final words you want to share with anyone watching this, who's ready to get healthy and just ready to get started?
Yeah, so I want to tell people that you need to start. And so, I mean, and a lot of times I think that in this social media age, and I say this all the time, is that we think that we have to do these intense, crazy workouts in order to get an effective workout. But it's about pushing yourself. And so you as an individual, pushing yourself might just be walking outside for now, you know, and then eventually you'll get to where you can jog or run. But you don't always have to go out there and start sprinting in order to get a good workout in.
Awesome. And I agree. I think
Again, the goal is to challenge yourself. And so, yeah.
absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thank
Mhm.
you so much. This has
Okay.
been a pleasure.
Mhm.
I hope to come by the gym and see you
Of
sometime. And I
course.
just
Mhm.
really appreciate you sharing knowledge today. Have
Okay.
a
Thank you for having me, Tasha. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.